Hello and welcome, Minnesota Farah. We are genuinely very happy to have you with us for our daily coverage of the NFL news. Please subscribe to our channel to support our initiative as we bring to you the latest updates from the world of NFL on a daily basis. Now let's dive deep into our news stories.
Let's get started with our today's news roundup. News number 1, Arizona Cardinals. In the desert, the Arizona Cardinals are making strides to strengthen their roster. Tight end Zach Ertz, who suffered a significant knee injury last season, has been given the green light for full football activity. With a torn ACL and MCL behind him, Ertz is gearing up to make a triumphant return in Week 1. Meanwhile, cornerback Rashad Fenton has unfortunately found himself on the injured reserve. But fear not, Cardinals fans, as this team continues to push forward. Now, let's move on to our next news. News number 2, Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons are primed for action in the preseason. Running back Bijan Robinson is set to showcase his skills in an upcoming game against the Bengals. Head coach Arthur Smith's announcement has surely ignited excitement among Falcons supporters. But that's not all. The team has also made moves off the field with the signing of defensive back Bless Austin. Falcons fans, get ready for an exhilarating season ahead. Now, let's move on to our next news. News number 3, Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore Ravens fans, rejoice. Running back J.K. Dobbins has been activated from the reserve, physically unable to perform list. Dobbins returned to practice with his teammates, sparking enthusiasm and anticipation for his contributions to the team's success. Joining the Ravens' defensive unit are defensive backs DeAndre Houston Carson and T. Hayes. The Ravens are charging into the season with their roster looking stronger than ever. Now, let's move on to our next news. News number 4, Carolina Panthers. In the Carolinas, wide receiver Terrace Marshall has encountered a minor setback. A tweak in his back during practice has fans and coaches alike keeping a watchful eye on his recovery. Despite this, the Panthers are committed to overcoming challenges and forging ahead. Keep your spirits high, Panthers faithful, as your team continues to strive for excellence. Now, let's move on to our next news. News number 5, Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears are capitalizing on opportunities with linebacker Michael Walker, who was claimed off waivers from the Falcons. The Bears roster is evolving, as they've also made cuts. Linebacker Keone Deng is bidding farewell. Bears fans, the winds of change are blowing, and your team is embracing it with open arms. Now, let's move on to our next news. News number 6, Cincinnati Bengals. Over in Cincinnati, quarterback Trevor Siemian is set to lead the charge in a preseason showdown against the Atlanta Falcons. Coach Zach Taylor's decision has put the spotlight on Siemian as he takes the field. Bengals fans, get ready to witness your team's determination in action. Now, let's move on to our next news. News number 7, Dallas Cowboys. Big news for Dallas Cowboys supporters. Pro Bowl guard Zach Martin has secured a significant raise in his contract, bringing stability and experience to the team's offensive line. Martin's return to training camp is a positive sign for the Cowboys' aspirations this season. The Cowboys are betting on their stars to lead them to victory. Now, let's move on to our next news. News number 8, Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos are making strides with the signing of wide receiver J.J. Koski. This addition promises to inject new energy into the Broncos' aerial attack. On the flip side, linebacker Ray Wilborn bids farewell to the team as part of roster cuts. Broncos fans, brace yourselves for an electrifying season ahead. Now, let's move on to our next news. News number 9, Detroit Lions. In Detroit, wide receiver Avery Davis and center Alex Millette have inked deals with the Lions. These signings showcase the Lions' commitment to building a well-rounded squad. Meanwhile, wide receiver Trey Quinn bows out due to an injury. Lions faithful, get ready to roar with your team as they charge onto the gridiron. Now, let's move on to our next news. News number 10, Houston Texans. The Houston Texans are trimming their roster, bidding farewell to wide receiver Victor Bolden. The Texans' journey is just beginning, and they're making calculated moves to build a formidable lineup. Texans fans, stand by your team as they gear up for the battles ahead. Subscribe for the continuation of our NFL News Roundup, where we'll bring you the latest developments from the rest of the league. Until then, keep your game faces on and your excitement levels high.